All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really important tool for anyone doing business internationally, IRS Form 8802. Now, I know, an IRS form sounds, well, intimidating, but stick with me because we're going to break this down and make it super simple.
So, are you doing business abroad, earning money from another country? Then you've probably felt that sting of foreign withholding taxes, right? That frustrating moment when you see your money just disappear before it even gets to you.
But here's the thing, there's a way to fight back. There's an official way to protect that hard-earned income. It all comes down to proving you're a U.S. resident to those foreign governments, and that entire quest, it kicks off with one very specific application.
Okay, so this whole protection thing, it really hinges on two key forms. I want you to think of one as the treasure you're after, and the other, well, that's the map that's going to lead you right to it.
So, the treasure, that's Form 1666. It's the U.S. residency certificate. This is the golden ticket, the official piece of paper from the IRS that proves to another country that you're a U.S. tax resident. And why does that matter? Because it forces them to give you the tax benefits you're entitled to under existing treaties. This is what you're after.
Okay, great. So how do you get this golden ticket? Well, you need the map, and that map is Form 8802. This is the application we're really going to zero in on today. It's the document you fill out to request that certificate. So let's figure out how to follow this map. All right, let's talk about crafting your application. I know filling out any IRS form can feel like you're trying to solve a puzzle in the dark. But trust me, once we break it down, you'll see it's way more straightforward than it looks.
You know, the best way to think about Form 8082 is like a crafting recipe in a video game. Seriously, you gather a few specific ingredients, your personal info, a payment, a signed statement, you follow the steps precisely, and bam, you create a powerful item, Form 6166, that's going to protect your assets.
When you boil it all down, the entire process really just comes down to these four simple steps. Step 1, pay the user fee. Can't skip that. Step 2, provide all your key info. Step 3, state your purpose. Why do you need this thing? And finally, Step 4, sign it and send it in. That's the whole quest in a nutshell. So let's start with Step 1, the user fee. The cost here depends on who you are. If you're an individual, you're looking at $85. For any non-individual applicant, like a corporation or a partnership, that fee goes up to $185. Now, how do you pay? You could send a check, but honestly, the much better way to go is paying electronically through pay.gov. And here's why that's so important. When you pay online, you get an immediate confirmation number. You need to treat this number like a critical ingredient in our recipe because you have to write it right there on the form. Okay, let's actually look at the map itself. This is page 1 of the form. Up at the top, lines 1 through 3, that's the easy stuff. Your name, your taxpayer ID, and your address. But then, check out line 4. This is where you have to tell them what kind of applicant you are. An individual, a partnership, a corporation, whatever it may be. Getting this part right is absolutely key. Moving on the left, we've got page 2. Now, the most important spot here is at the bottom. That's where you're going to sign under penalties of perjury. It sounds serious because it is, and we'll come back to the exact wording for that in just a minute. Then on the right, you've got page 3. Think of this as your order form. This is where you list every single country you need a certificate for and add it all up to calculate your total fee. All right, so you've followed the recipe, you've crafted your application, and you've sent it off. Now what? What can this powerful certificate, this new weapon in your arsenal, actually do for you out in the real world? Well, here's the payoff. With this certificate in hand, you can seriously lower or sometimes completely eliminate those pesky withholding taxes on things like your wages, your consulting income, or payouts from foreign investments. And get this, it can also be your ticket to getting an exemption from a value-added tax, or VAT, which is basically the sales tax you see in so many other countries. Okay, here's a super critical piece of advice on timing. The IRS is very clear on this. You need to file your Form 8082 at least 45 days before you actually need that certificate. So whatever you do, don't wait until the last minute on this one. Okay, remember that penalties of perjury statement I mentioned on page 2? The wording here has to be exact. For an individual, you have to write out your name, your taxpayer ID, and then declare that you are a U.S. resident and will be for the whole tax year. A corporation does the exact same thing, just with its business name and EIN. You are legally swearing that this is all true, so it's a big deal.
All right, you've pretty much mastered the application, and you understand its power. So let's zoom out a little bit. Let's look at the bigger picture and what's next on this whole international tax quest.
I mean, the difference this one little certificate makes is just stark. It's night and day. Without it, you're basically at the mercy of whatever a foreign country's standard tax withholding rate is. But with it, you unlock the power of U.S. tax treaties, which can slash that rate, sometimes all the way down to zero.
And things are always changing, right? The process is evolving. Starting in late 2024, specifically September 29th, there's a brand new requirement. Now, when you pay your fee on pay.gov, you have to upload a PDF of your completed Form 8082 right then and there. It's a new step, so make sure you're ready for it. So that brings up a good question. Is this a quest you have to go on every single year? For most people, yeah, it is. But for a lucky few, there's a pretty sweet shortcut. For some applicants, the answer is no. Certain folks, like estates or tax-exempt organizations, can use something the IRS calls a 3-year procedure. This basically streamlines the application for the second and third years, saving you a ton of hassle. It's a fantastic pro tip to know about if you happen to qualify. So look, the world of international finance can feel like a super complex game with a million rules. But mastering a form like this one, Form 8802, it gives you a huge advantage. It really is more than just paperwork. Think of it as a passport for your money, making sure it gets home to you safely.